When you go to the chain gang, you're gonna need a June because hey, they're gonna need a war daddy. Don't mess with chomos, don't get pick and poke, and don't ever dry snitch. And watch out for them bugs trying to ear hustle. If you come across the cell warrior, you better make sure you're bumping 1,000. And if it comes down to it, you make them break it off. The only time you should be jeffing with an officer is when you're saying one time. So just chill on the Cadillac and wait for the day they tell you to roll it up. What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So man, I can remember back when I first started getting arrested and I was going to jail and then eventually prison. I would hear a lot of people saying a lot of words, especially when I first got to jail, that I really didn't understand. And I'm sure a lot of people watching some of these episodes that I've been putting out have also heard some of those words as I'm describing stories and they're not understanding what they are. So in this episode, I want to break down with you guys prison slang. Alright, so one of the first words we're going to talk about is Cadillac. And I'm not talking about the car here. Cadillac can really be referred to like two different meanings to it. One would be Cadillac, like, oh, that boy right there is sleeping on a Cadillac. So what they mean by that is in prison, you get a mat to put on your bunk. And in the Florida DOC and even the jails I've been in, the mats are like this thin. So what other inmates will do is they'll pay somebody to rip the foam out of their mat and stuff it into the guy's mat they're putting it in. So that way they have a double thick mat, and some of them can be like this thick. And that's where you get the phrase Cadillac in prison, because they'll be like, man, you got a Cadillac mattress right there. The other term that Cadillac can be used for, when they started taking out cigarettes in the Florida Department of Corrections, a whole cigarette that you would get in like a Marlboro pack is referred to in prison as a Cadillac, because you don't really see too many people that'll light up a regular cigarette and smoke it. Usually they'll take the cigarette, they'll get a razor blade out of the razor and they'll cut it into like dollar hollers, they call them. And then they'll roll that in separate paper. A lot of people use Bible paper to roll it in, and then other people will use the toilet paper tissue that go around the roll to roll their cigarettes up in. So if you got either one of those Cadillacs in prison, you're doing something. All right, so the next word is gonna be one time. So when you're in a dorm in prison, you're gonna have people that are running tattoos, that are gonna be doing some shit, hey, maybe have a cell phone. So what they'll do is near the officer station where the laundry room is, they'll usually have a lookout there. And that way when the officer comes out of the officer station, they'll yell one time. And that's letting everybody in the dorm know that the police are coming and to put your shit up and act right. So since we're talking about the police here, the next word is gonna be jeffing. So this is something you don't want to do in the Florida Department of Corrections. What'll happen is you'll have inmates that will start to try to become friendly with officers. And if you've been to prison like I have, then you know too that it doesn't matter really how friendly you get with them. If they get a chance to throw you under the bus, your ass is going under the bus. When those people start acting friendly with the officers in prison, other inmates will like step to those inmates that are acting friendly and be like, yo dog, why you jeffing with the police? Meaning like, why are you kicking it with them? They are the op, the enemy. That's another word, opt. People use that referring to as like an enemy or someone on a different team or in a different gang. June. You need yourself a June. Nah, I'm just playing, but there's a lot of Junes in the Florida Department of Corrections. And what June means is you're stuck on somebody's hip, you're hanging on their belt loop, or you're up under the wing, meaning you're kind of like a do-boy. Like you'll wash dishes, you'll wash clothes, for nothing, doing it for free just because you feel like if you do that, then you'll be cool with the person that, they're your war daddy or your June. War daddy means like somebody's protecting you, like probably because you get money. They may not. They'll use you to be their Jun, but at the same time, they'll be your war daddy. So if somebody else tries to step on the Jun, your war daddy will come and be like, yo, bro, check this out. That's my Jun. So let's just keep it real. You ain't getting nothing from him. Suitcase or boofing. So in the Florida Department of Corrections, and I hate to admit this, but a lot of times it's like little white boys. They'll be on an outside work squad. They'll go outside the gate. So what they'll do is there'll be drops and shit. And they will literally boof the shit up their ass and bring it back onto the compound for whoever they're doing it for. It's usually not their drop, or it's not for them. But that's what we call boofing in the Florida Department of Corrections. Another term for that is suitcase, like I just said. Same difference. You're sticking shit up your ass. The next word is gonna be bumping. So if you're bumping in prison, that usually means like, yo, that dude's hands are certified. He's chunking them things. Bumping is just another word for fighting. And I say that because I've talked about it in some of my previous episodes, you know, about me getting into a fight. That's what fighting is considered in the chain gang. It's gonna be, man, that dude's bumping 1,000. Cell warrior. So I'm sure a lot of people already know what that is, but that happens a lot when you're in confinement. There'll be people making noises and shit, and you'll be like, yo, hold that shit down. And you're telling them basically to shut the fuck up because you're trying to either sleep, read, or do something like that. And the person you're saying that to will be like, man, fuck you. When I get out of this cell, yo, you got to tighten me up, da-da-da. And then when you get out of the box and you run into that person, they're not saying shit. They're talking all that shit because they got the door protecting them from actually having to bump or to fight the dude that they're talking shit to. So, and that happens a lot in jail when you go on lockdown. You'll hear people up all night talking, and you know, other people will be telling them to shut the fuck up, and they'll start capping through the cell bars. But when the cells roll in the morning to get breakfast, a lot of them ain't really living like that. They just have that protection for them. So that's what we call a cell warrior. Break it off. So in the Florida Department of Corrections, if someone comes up to you with a list from the canteen and they say, yo, go get this shit on this list, and you do it, you are breaking it off. A lot of people will do that in there for protection because they're scared, man. So what they do is they'll have a gang that will, you know, they'll get shit for the gang and they'll be breaking it off, giving the gang what they want because they feel like they got some security with that. And that kind of falls under the same thing as the Jun or a do boy. They kind of all fall into the same category. But the last thing you want to do in the Florida Department of Corrections is be breaking it off, because then your ass is just soft and you ain't even going to get to eat your own food. And like, who wants to do their time like that? Sometimes you just got to get there. So get there meaning fight. Like if someone says, hey man, tighten up, catch the wall, you better get there, because if you don't, you're not going to have no respect. And people are just going to be disrespecting you the whole time you're doing your bid. I know for me, man, like that was a no-go. Like I'm not going for that. Like I'm getting there. We're going to have to, win or lose, you got to do what you got to do to survive and get that respect when you're in there. Because otherwise, man, you're going to have a rough time. And I'm just keeping it real with you. You're going to have a rough time. Dry snitching. So a lot of people do this in the Florida Department of Corrections. Dudes could be in the back of the dorm and they'll be smoking weed, and you'll have someone on the phone near the officer station, and they'll get off the phone and they'll bust the corner to go back into the dorm, and they'll smell the weed and they'll be like, oh, someone's smoking heavy in here. That's dry snitching. Like you're only doing that to bring attention to what's going on in the back corner of the dorm. So that, my friends, is dry snitching. And that's something you do not want to do, because that shit could get your ass busted real quick. Now, my favorite word, shit eater. So, I mean, if you guys don't know what that is, you're about to find out. So a shit eater is the cops, is the officers, the captain, the sergeants. They're all shit eaters. I believe it started because the Florida Department of Correction officers wear brown. And they're just shit eaters. Like they're pieces of shit. Most of them, I rarely have met one decent officer. And if they are decent, they're not working for the Florida Department of Corrections for very long. Man, that dude right there got an elbow. I'm not talking about this elbow. I'm talking about when somebody gets a life sentence, you'll hear it a lot in prison, like, man, that dude's got an elbow, meaning he's got a life sentence. He's in this shit for the long haul. Like, he is not getting out. That's what an elbow is. Ear hustling. Man, a lot of people do this too. So ear hustling can be, you know, me and my homeboy are talking. We're on the bunk, chilling, vibing. And we look over and there's this dude in the center bunk and he's kind of looking at us, but he's not saying anything. What he's doing is he's ear hustling what we're talking about. And a lot of people do that because they want to know where the drops are. They want to know what's going on, who's at war. But you don't want to get caught ear hustling. So like if you look over and you see someone staring at you, 9 times out of 10, they're listening to what you guys were talking about. And that's either because they're paranoid or, like I said, they want to find out some shit. But just don't get caught ear hustling. A kite. So a kite is something that is people use in prison. It's usually a little piece of paper and they'll write notes on it. And that's either to pass a message, or sometimes it could be a gang could use that to tell their other members that are in a different dorm what they want them to do. They could have information on somebody that's in their gang that's either a chomo, or they got paperwork on him that he snitched, or whatever the case is. A lot of times when you're in confinement in the Florida DOC, that's how you communicate with people on the pound or in other cells that are in confinement. So you guys can either, get some canteen back there, whatever it is you want, you just send a kite out and try to, to your homeboys and see if you can get it that way. So Peter gazing and shower sharking. So in the Florida Department of Corrections, in an open bay dorm, you're gonna have a shower. It's an open bay shower. You're gonna have 10 heads on the shower. And what'll happen is around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening when everybody's showering, you're gonna have that 1 or 2 inmates that will walk into the bathroom like they're going to take a piss or a shit. But as they're walking to the stall on the right, they're constantly like looking over at dudes in the shower. If you're in the shower and you catch somebody doing that, the first thing you want to say is, bro, what are you looking at, dog? Like, you got a problem? Because if not, that'll happen every day. And that's what we call in the Florida Department of Corrections, Peter gazing, shower sharking. Roll it up. So you're gonna hear that in jail when you're getting released, or if you're going to confinement in prison. A lot of the times in jail when you made bond or you're done with your sentence, they're gonna say, hey, Smith, roll it up. That means pack your shit up, you're going home. Now in prison, that can mean different things. So they're gonna tell you roll it up when you get out, but they're also, if you get in a fight and the officers come and cuff you up, they'll actually tell another inmate to roll your shit up, because they're gonna bring all your property to confinement with you for when you get out, so you have it. And a lot of times when that happens, inmates will go pack your shit up, roll your shit up, and they'll take whatever they want and leave you with some shit, but not all of it. Unless you got a name on the compound, that happens daily. So people go to the box and other inmates look at that as a chance to get some free shit. That didn't happen to me when I went to the box, thank God, but I've seen it happen over and over again to different people. A duck, and I'm not talking about the animal. What I'm talking about is, so when you're in prison and you have a spades partner and you guys are playing spades, you're gonna find 2 other people to gamble with. Usually gonna try to find ducks, which means that they're sweet, easy money, and they'll just keep coming back and it's like they're donating money. Like, you actually can tell them, like, hey, bro, I appreciate you donating that. And they'll come back tomorrow and do the same thing over and over again. And a lot of the times they're new inmates to prison, or they just want to be accepted. And they feel like if they gamble, then that means they're somebody, or whatever the case is. But those are ducks. It kind of also falls in line with that as crash dummies. So crash dummies is somebody you're gonna send on missions that will do the dumbest shit and think it's cool because they like running their fucking head into the wall, apparently. So like, if somebody on the other side of the compound owes you money and you don't want to slide to that dorm to get the money because you don't want to end up going to the box for being in an unauthorized area, you're gonna find a crash dummy. And they're gonna go do the mission. And a lot of times they'll go do shit and then they'll get knocked off and go to the box. But whatever they were supposed to go do, they are now responsible for that because they took that mission to go do that shit. But you'll have people, they'll do the dumbest shit just because they think it's cool. And it's crazy to watch, but again, it happens all the time. And sometimes it's funny because they'll do shit like steal batteries from the officer's desk and get caught by the officer. And then they'll run back in the dorm and crawl up under bunks to try to get away, like, you know, they're gonna get away with it, but they never do. And that's why they're called crash dummies. So these are just some of the prison slang words. There's tons of others. I'm gonna start putting out episodes probably every week with new words so you guys can understand them. I know a lot of people watch this channel that have been to prison and they already know these. And these words are in the Florida Department of Corrections. Now, if you go out to the West Coast, you're gonna have different words. I'm only speaking on where I've been to prison, and that's in the Florida. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you can hear it first. And with that, stay blessed and free. It's DOC TV, and I'm out.